brakes were absolutely cooked. I think that if you are going to be doing some faster driving or faster off-road driving, the brakes is the absolute first thing I would be upgrading. G'day, I'm Paul. The sun is shining. There is a supercharged V8 behind me. The world is good today. This is the Ram TRX, but this is the final edition. It is limited to just over 100 units for Australia. It's priced at 250 grand, so around 25 grand more than the non-final edition. And I thought we'd have one last crack at this because the new version of this car, the RHO, is missing a supercharger and it's missing 2 cylinders as well. So they've gone backwards in terms of big cylinder count, but anyway, I'm keen to drive it regardless, but I think you cannot go past the noise of a supercharged V8. So today we're going to do a detailed review of this car plus some light off-roading. If you do want to skip ahead to other parts of this review, you can use the time codes that are on the screen, or if you're on YouTube, you can scroll down and use the chapters below. Now let's talk about colours. So you've got 3 colours to pick from for the final edition. I love this blue. It looks so good. Really just doesn't stand out too much, but it still looks really nice and stylish, and it just, it looks good when it's dark and light as well. So it's a really cool color. And I love the fact here with the TRX, it is all about being in your face. You've got this big black section, Ram lettering there, proper sort of steel bumper and bottom section there as well. Rated recovery points. You've got big nostrils here for breathing. You've got air vents off to either side, plus next to the LED headlights as well. They really have thought about making this as mean as possible. And look, I'm a believer of you should buy whatever you want. If you want to buy an EV, you go buy an EV. I'm not going to judge you. If you want to buy a small car, you go buy a small car. I'm not going to judge you either. If you want to buy one of these, you go buy one of these, because it is just such a cool vehicle, and I'm so glad that they actually sell these in Australia. Because they actually convert these to right-hand drive in Australia. They come to Australia as a left-hand drive vehicle out of the factory in Michigan, and then they get converted to right-hand drive just here for the Australian market. So a lot of work goes into making this compliant with all the ridiculous rules we have here in Australia. So I think that is just something commendable and very cool. Come around to the side with me. Have a look at these wheels. They are enormous. So 18-inch wheels. This basically comes with a beadlock kit for the final edition. This is just a dress kit. So basically you take that off and then you fit your beadlocks to there so you can drop your tire pressures right down and do some serious off-roading. This is a light truck tyre, so it is properly durable. So is the suspension as well. It's actually been engineered to take up to a ton of load on each corner. So if you are doing some Baja racing and some of the faster, more aggressive driving this vehicle is built for, it's able to withstand up to a ton of impact on each corner, which is simply remarkable when you consider the weight of the vehicle. It's around 3 tons, so it is huge. I'm a little concerned about the size of the brakes. They do look sort of pretty small. So when we go for our sort of faster lap later on, I'll be curious to see what braking is like. This is where that vent comes out there next to the light. So it just comes in behind that side fender there and then pops out the side there. Big wing mirrors too, so you can actually see down the side of the vehicle. Proper side steps as well, so they're not plastic, which is great. Ram lettering there, and then black on this lower section that runs through to the rear. You've got some privacy glass and a proper second row, which I'll run you through later on. Have a look under here. So live axle at the rear, but this suspension's interesting. So Bilstein shocks, you have a remote reservoir. So basically this is a setup designed to take that impact when this vehicle is hitting hard. Because it's a live axle as well, it also needs to cater for wheel articulation. So there's a big coil spring stuck in there as well. When we do our off-road driving later on, I'll be curious to see how much articulation we actually get out of this when that wheel is fully extended. And it should be a decent amount with a live axle. So we'll see how that performs. TRX lettering over here, and then come around to the back with me. Now, around the back here, you can actually see those side haunches. It sticks out so much, and it's what gives this the aggressive look that it has. While a Ram 1500 looks sort of fairly compact in comparison to this, and I know it's crazy to think of a Ram 1500 as compact, but this definitely has some bulges to it. Full LED taillights, a 4x4 badge there, Ram, TRX as well. More of those rated recovery points. You also have a 3.5 ton brake towing capacity here, so it's a reduction over a standard Ram 1500. Now the tailgate. It's easy to drop and also easy to lift as well despite its weight. It's got a spray-in bed liner. You've got these movable racks in the tray as well. There is no power outlet here, even though you do have a light. It's one of the things that they are fixing with the ADR that prevents them from actually having accessorized power in the tray of these vehicles. So that will be coming shortly, and hopefully that's something you can then retrofit to a vehicle like this. Stack of accessories you can get for this as well, like a spare tire holder in the rear here. But keep in mind that the more of that stuff you do start adding to this, you're going to eat into your clearance for the roof. This fits into a 2.1 metre car park just, so keep in mind that if you do add stuff, it is actually going to start eating into your height clearance as well for getting into car parks. So let me know what you reckon in the comments section below. Are you as happy as I am that this thing exists? And are you as sad as I am that it's going from an 8-cylinder to a 6? Let me know in the comments section below. Righto, so we are inside the TRX. This is what the key looks like. You've got unlock, lock, a button there to drop the tailgate, remote start, panic, and then RAM TRX on the key. It's a proximity sensing key, so you can leave that in your pocket. You've got a big red starter button just over here as well. If I was going to be spending 250k on a ute, this is probably what I'd want the interior to look like. Lots of space, lots of storage, and just lots of leather and this sort of Alcantara style trim around the place. It is a very cool looking interior. Not a huge fan of the piano black around here, but you know, it is what it is. Now, stuff that is unique to Final Edition. You've got Final Edition badge down here that reads TRX Final Edition Supercharged Hemi V8. Then you've got a build plate over here that looks different to the standard one as well. So that has RAM TRX, the build number, and then Final Edition there too. Got this patina stitching along the dashboard. You've got TRX sort of insignia in the seats as well, and then this faux sort of carbon trim along that sort of dashboard and then door as well. So it is a really nice looking, cool setup. In terms of your touch points, all of this is nice and soft. So is the sort of section on the door there as well. How soft is it? We've got our durometer. We've tested the main surfaces in this cabin. If you do want to see how this car compares to others that we've tested before, have a look at the link in the description below. Now, build quality. So let's do our little shake test here. That all feels really good. Now, the curious thing is, like I said to you before, this is converted from left-hand drive to right-hand drive, and I genuinely cannot see anything here that looks like it has been remanufactured. Everything just looks like it's meant to be there. So it is a really cool sort of setup and just looks like it's a factory product. This is what the door slam sounds like. Now let's talk infotainment. So you've got this 12-inch vertical display in the center of the cabin. There's some shortcut buttons off to the side for your climate controls, but then the rest of it is sort of managed using these buttons integrated within the screen. Pretty sort of decent setup, tends to work okay, can be a little bit glitchy at times, I've found. Sort of drops out sometimes if you're driving through sort of toll gantries or something like that and you've got wireless smartphone mirroring running, but outside of that, it's all good. You can configure this section here for shortcuts. You've got a media section, has inbuilt satellite navigation, and then you can also then bring up other things like your gauges and race options as well, which is pretty cool. Now, in addition to all of that, you've also got AM, FM radio. There is no digital radio, but you do get a 19-speaker Harman Kardon branded sound system, which is pretty awesome, and it sounds fantastic. So if you're into your sound systems, that's great news. Wireless smartphone mirroring, this is what Apple CarPlay looks like. So there it is there, sort of pretty straightforward and easy to use. Tiny bit sort of laggy at times there. And this is what Android Auto looks like. Bizarrely, it's that, which is like only half the screen. I don't know why it's not vertical, but you know, I guess it is what it is. Outside of that, you then have a stack of different options in here for performance settings. So, like, you've just got everything in here. It is just such a cool setup. It really is. So we'll have a bit of a play with some of that stuff later on. Head of the driver, you've got another display there that you can configure with a litany of different options. You've got a number of different views you can have up there. More of those performance options, off-road options. So it really is cool to see that you can configure all of this to meet whatever needs you have at the time. So I reckon that is definitely a good thing. Now let's talk safety. So you've got autonomous emergency braking. You've got a digital rear view mirror. That is great because it means if you do have stuff in the tray, it isn't going to sort of block your view and you can actually see out the back quite nicely. You have radar cruise control. There is no semi-autonomous steering. There is a lane keeping assistant, but that's about it. You've got a blind spot monitor built into the wing mirror there that can also account for trailer length, which is great, and also front and rear parking sensors and a 360 camera. I'll show you what that looks like. So there it is there. The quality of that's actually pretty decent. So you can see down towards our suitcase. And then out the back and front of the car, you've got a proper sort of suitcase cam, and then you've got a front cam. You then have the ability to hook up auxiliary cameras as well. So fairly sort of well thought out system with the ability to then extend it even more if you want. And this is what the horn sounds like. Now let's talk about practicality, and we'll start off with your connectivity. So down here, you've got a set of USB A and C ports and an auxiliary outlet as well. I love this. Your phone charger is called a RAM charger, just because RAM. So that sits down there. In here, you've got USB A port up the top. And then have a look at this. You've got a protractor, you've got trig ratios, you have Pythagoras' theorem, you've got all sorts of stuff here, ruler. It's kind of cool. I love down here as well, you've got a picture of a sort of Tyrannosaurus Rex, and then underneath it, you can see one of the animals that the T-Rex would eat, which is a velociraptor, which is just like a funny nod there to you know, the Ford Raptors. So you've got slots here for coins as well of different varieties, which is great. So they have thought about everything here in terms of storage, cup holders there as well, and more storage down there too. You've got a Sunny's holder up the top here. You have storage inside the doors on dual tiers. You've also got glove box down the bottom here if I can reach it, which is reasonably sized, a little bit small, and then glove box up the top there as well. Now, in terms of comfort, you have dual zone automatic climate control, you have heated and cooled seats, you've also got heated steering wheel as well, electric seat adjustment for the driver and front passenger, so you can go forwards or backwards. Your backrest can go forwards and backwards. You can lift the front of the seat, back of the seat, lumbar adjustment. You've got seat memory as well here for the driver too. Steering offers both tilts and reach adjustment. And on our reach test, despite you sort of sitting so sort of far away from everything, this stuff is all actually pretty easy to reach while you're driving. Now let's talk about the second row. I'll show you some of the cool features it's got. You can lift both sides out of the way to give you some storage under here. There's also some accessories you can get to fill that space out as well. And then have a look at this space. There is acres of room. It is just crazy. So lots of knee room, toe room's great, headroom excellent too. You've got some bullet holders down here, some map pockets as well, pair of cup holders here with USB-C and A, heating and cooling for your two outboard seats with air vents there. Look at this center section drops down as well with another couple of cup holders and then a center storage section there too. So it is a pretty well-equipped section back here, a couple of speakers above your head too, which is pretty cool. The other cool thing is that you can also recline the seat. That's how much room there is back here. You can actually open this window too. I forgot to mention that before. So it gives you a bit of through cooling as well if you do need it. And then you've got auto up and down on the windows, but let's see whether they go all the way down. Look at that. There's a proper experience back here. Passengers are gonna love you. Are you looking for some advice but don't want a hard sell? Well, I am here to help. Well, CarExpert is here to help. All you need to do is go to Google and type in "Help Me CarExpert" or scan the QR code on the screen. It'll take you to our website. CarExpert is a big business. It's not just me here doing videos. We even have a concierge team in Australia who is there to help you figure out which car to buy. We can even put you in touch with one of our friendly dealers as well. It is obligation free. You can talk to someone in Australia who will guide you through the entire process. You can talk to my mate Pete or even Sophia. All you need to do is just Google "Help Me CarExpert" or use the QR code and we will hook you up with the right car. Okay, we've just hit the road in the mighty TRX. This is such a cool package because not only does it combine this enormous interior with all the bells and whistles, you're getting what is one of the coolest engines that's just ever been offered by Mopar, and that is a 6.2 litre supercharged V8 Hemi. Now you can get the Demon in the States, but you know, this is as big as it gets for this sort of application. And that means 523 kilowatts of power, almost 900 Newton meters of torque. And it's all mated to this 8-speed automatic transmission. It's a torque converter, so no dual clutches or any annoying stuff like that. And depending on which drive mode you're in, this is effectively permanently a 4-wheel drive setup. So it has varied torque splits depending on the drive mode that you're in, but you don't have the ability to run this as a 2-wheel drive vehicle, which we discovered a little while back when we did our big dyno test with all the dual cab utes. We couldn't actually use the dyno because they couldn't stretch the wheelbase long enough, and you couldn't lock this into rear-wheel drive without going and changing a whole bunch of settings that we didn't have access to. So yeah, fun fact for you. Now, what does all that feel like behind the wheel? When you're tootling around, it is noisy. It's got a lot of exhaust noise. I love the supercharger ones. We're just driving along normally here in auto mode, and if I lean on the throttle, you can just hear the whine in the background building as you accelerate. It sounds so, so cool. Now, what does all that mean for fuel economy? Well, look, if you are shocked at having to go to a petrol station often, you're probably not going to like this vehicle, but that's fine. Officially, it averages just under 20 litres per... Well, there you go. We're averaging 19.8, and I think the average is 19.6, so it is pretty much bang on. And that's been with a fair chunk of highway driving and then some faster laps around here in the morning. So I'm actually pretty okay with that fuel economy, given that this weighs almost 3 tonnes and you're moving it around with a supercharged V8 that is always on and always working. I think that's actually not a terrible fuel economy. Now let's talk about the suspension. So I mentioned earlier that it has the Bilstein shock absorbers at the rear with external reservoir. It's actually an adaptive damping setup. So as you move through the drive modes, you're getting different feedback through that suspension in terms of the firmness, which I'm a big fan of because it means you're getting different latitude and also a different character from the vehicle when you do flick through those settings and change them. So it is good to see you have that ability to move through them. In none of the settings is it really overly firm. It is just constantly floating around and quite comfortable, even in and around the city on bumps and stuff like that. It is such a super comfortable car to be driven in. And then when the speed does pick up on an off-road course, it is all about Baja with keeping the body stable with all of that suspension flex and all the movement. So it's a really good setup. Now, here comes our sine wave. We'll get up to 130. Not exactly the hardest thing in the world to do, but I've left it in auto mode, so we'll see what it's like here at 130 over the sine waves. I suspect it will be quite a non-event, but let's see how we go. Yeah, piece of cake. It is as if those sine waves are not there at all. Okay, now let's pop this back into our soft setting for our bumpy roads. So we do this at 90 k's an hour, which gives us an idea of what the suspension is like across a choppy stretch of road. Got our condensed sine wave here as well. Yeah, look at that, soaking up everything beautifully. No dramas there at all, so very comfortable indeed. Now, in terms of changing your drive modes, you press the TRX button here and it brings up all of the different drive modes you have. Let's go for a lap around the track. Pop it into sport mode. I know this is not a sports car, but we test all cars back to back in the same way. All right. Oh, these tyres. These tyres do not love traction, but that is okay. Oh, this thing is ridiculous. Yes. Oh, it is absolutely hauling ass. Oh man, the brakes do not feel adequate. Oh, let's see what it's like over this. Oh. Oh. I'm honestly lost for words here because it's a mixture of understeer and a little bit of oversteer and then body roll. Oh man, this thing is unreal. Let's give it a punch on the back here. And there is our nanny state speed limiter. For Australia, for some reason, they put a speed limiter in at about 160. So, fun police hit that, but that was so much fun. This thing is unreal. You just go to town on it, and you know, it is big, it is sort of unruly, but it's fairly predictable, and it is just so much fun to just throw around like that. And I think if that speed limiter wasn't there, this would be propelling towards 200 without like any slowing down at all. It has so much urge. No matter where you are in the rev band, you just nail it and away it goes. It is seriously unreal. In fact, what we'll do, we'll play a clip now of just a lap with me not talking at all, so you can hear all of the noises that it makes as we go around the track. Now, what about your road noise? You do get road noise coming from those chunky tyres, like that's unavoidable, but at highway speeds it's actually not that bad, and I don't know if that's just because it's getting drowned out by the engine, but I didn't think it was that bad. This is how it went up against our calibrated sound meter. And on the visibility front, look, I mean, you are sitting quite high up. I love the fact that you got the digital mirror. You got giant wing mirrors as well, so you can clearly see down the side of the body there, and visibility in general is pretty good. I just think that, I don't know what's going on with these mirrors, because it feels like that mirror, which is sort of closer, should be on that side, which shows a further, yeah, I don't know if they've swapped around correctly or not, but yeah, I reckon they could do with some swapping. The other thing worth noting as well is that, yes, even though you do have to visit the fuel station often, it is a 125 litre fuel tank, so it's not that often. It could be worse. It could be like an 80 litre tank, so you can definitely fill it up enough to not have to keep going back to the fuel station. And one other thing as well, as I turn, actually, turning circle, just under 15 metres, you are going to need quite a space to turn around. One other thing I should mention is earlier in the day when I was doing laps around here, I typically do 3 faster laps around the ride and handling track. By the end of that third lap, the brakes were absolutely cooked. So yeah, I mean, they do look tiny under those 18s, and I think that if you are going to be doing some faster driving or faster off-road driving, the brakes is the absolute first thing I would be upgrading to make sure that you have the ability to pull up confidently each time instead of the pedal going long. Okay, time to do some performance testing. So Ram claims a 0 to 100 time of like in between 4 and 5 seconds. So we actually have a bunch of cool performance screens here. So I'll pop that into sport, and then I'm going to go back, and then we'll go to race options and have a look at launch control. So I've set the launch at 2000 RPM because I found any higher than that, it creeps too far forward. Then you have a launch button here, and it gives you instructions on the screen ahead of the driver there. You've got a shift light as well that's designed to come up ahead of the driver. And then you have the race cool down function, which is basically allowing the vehicle to do some extra cooling. So I've got launch control set. We've got some other gauges here as well. So you've got timers. We'll see how accurately this reflects our performance measurement device as well when we do the 0 to 100. What else we got here? Gauges, dyno, that's cool, power and torque, G-forces, vehicle dynamics, the whole shebang. So, all right, let's give this a shot. I'll press launch. Okay, so I love that. It's telling me what pressure I am applying to the brake pedal. That's cool. All right, here we go. We're gonna go all the way through to 120. Oh yeah, it sounds so good. Nice. A little bit of wheel slip off the line there. All right, there's 120. Sorry, I was a little bit greedy there. Let's see how that went. Okay. So that was 0 to 100, 4.26 seconds. Get out of here. That is ridiculous, 4.26 seconds. Out of a 3-ton barge like this, that is unbelievable. 80 to 120, 2.75. So it is still absolutely boogieing when that happens. So that is cool. Now, let me just see what happens if I switch stability control off. Will it actually step sideways? Oh, yes! This thing is an absolute beast. Okie dokie, let's see what the brake and tyre package is like. We'll stop from 100. All right, here we go. Let's see how that went. So 100 to 0. Oh, it's actually, that's really not that bad. 3.32 seconds and 42 meters. I've seen significantly worse from other cars, so that really isn't too bad. If you do want to see how this car compares to others that we've tested before in any of those performance metrics, have a look at the link in the description below. Now, how quick does it go in reverse? Let's see what happens. Here we go. All right, about 47, 48 kilometers an hour. Not too bad. Okay, it is time to do some light off-roading. Now, this course that we have here is going to be comically underdone for a vehicle like this, but it's the course we use for all the cars, so you know, it is what it is. Now, let's talk about the four-wheel drive specs. So you've got a fairly decent amount of four-wheel drive hardware here. So it runs, as I mentioned before, in four-wheel drive, high range, on regular surfaces. But you can actually lock it into four-wheel drive high range with a torque split of 50% to the front, 50% to the rear by pushing this button here. You also have a manual rear diff lock here as well. It's a Dana 60 rear axle. You also have low range and a hill descent control. In addition to that, in terms of the actual numbers, 30.2 degrees approach angle. That's the angle of the face you can approach the front of the car before you hit anything, and then a 23.5 degree departure angle, which is the same but in reverse. Ground clearance of around 300 mil as well. So it is some serious ground clearance. And then there's a stack of cameras here too, which are going to help us with some off-roading, because it is a little bit tricky to see over the bonnet there when it comes to our hill descent. I'll also set up the screen ahead of me here for the off-road stuff as well, so we can see what it's doing. So you can see there exactly wheel articulation, steering angle, and what the drivetrain's doing. So we'll give that a shot. There you go, got some angles there as well. So unfortunately, this has all been filled in. So not only was this always never going to be an issue for this vehicle, but the holes have been filled in. But I'm hoping we can get it into a position so that I can give you a visual indicator of what our wheel articulation is like on the rear axle, because it is, so let's get it up there, just there. So that's pretty much at full articulation there. So you can see on that screen ahead of us here, it's kind of indicating, there's a bit of glare there, it's kind of indicating exactly what those wheels are doing, and you can see that live axle there as well. So normally in this instance, I would then lean on the throttle and see how the traction controls work, but here I'm just going to release my foot off the brake and it just walks straight over this, and that is because the wheelbase here is too big for our obstacles. So we might actually have to build another obstacle there to actually make this worth doing, as Sean laughs at me. So yeah, for these bigger American pickup trucks, the wheelbase here really doesn't make it all that challenging. So I'll pop it into four-wheel drive high range for the return trip. over this. And again, the whole idea is that we drop the rear wheel into this little rut here, but again, the rut has been filled in. I'll just push up against our concrete just here, just to see what it's like with a bit of wheel slip. Yeah, piece of cake. All right, let's head over to our hill. We typically do this in low range. We'll see how that performs. Okay, so our hill is dried up. So what we'll do, pop this into low range. All right, that is in low range now. Lock the rear diff, pop it into drive. So first up, I'll just drive up this with gradual throttle. We'll see how that goes. You can actually switch off the parking sensors, which is good, front and rear. So gradual throttle up here just to see how it performs. It's got a big chunky set of tyres, so it shouldn't be an issue given that it is dry as well. Nice. Tiny bit of slip there, but nothing too crazy. We've got our little mud bog here. We're going to drop it through this. Nice. Okay, now it's time for our descent. We will use our hill descent control now. So it says use select speed control on, use the plus and the minus. So basically we can adjust our speed using the gears here. Yeah, I mean, that's a piece of cake, no problems at all. And I just love that you've got the camera there as well, just so you don't wind up running into a tree. All right, let's go back and give our hill one more crack. Okay, so this time around on the hill, I'm gonna bring it up, come to a stop, check to see if it has a hill hold, and then try and take off again. So let's come up a little further, come to a stop around here somewhere. Okay, so I'll let go of the brake. Yeah, it's got a hill hold, roll onto the throttle. Piece of cake. I am sorry that this is like the easiest course in the world for a vehicle like this. It's definitely not hardcore at all, but you know, we test everything back to back in the same way just to be on the same page with all this sort of stuff. Let's head over to our rocks. Okay, so it is rock time. Just gonna go through these drive modes, stick it in rock mode. So that's now adjusting stability control and the suspension and the transmission. So we'll see how much of a difference that makes. This has so much clearance that we won't have any issues here, I don't think, with anything touching down. Oh my God, that is so smooth in Baja mode. Like it is mega smooth. You can almost like drive through this at speed and it wouldn't be an issue. That is genuinely quite impressive. Yeah, very good. Yeah, look, as kind of expected, this thing is a beast off-road, and our little off-road course here is simply no challenge at all for it. But yes, very impressed with this, and I think that if you really wanted to go somewhere hardcore, this would be able to achieve anything you wanted. And it's got a big enough fuel tank as well to mean that you're going to be able to travel sort of slightly longer distances as well while you're off-road, which isn't a bad thing either. So Ram TRX, if I had the space at home, I would have one of these in a heartbeat. It is such an unreal truck. I love it. It is so fast in a straight line. It is great off-road. It's just a hooligan machine, and I love everything about it. Look, in terms of what else are you going to buy, I mean, there is nothing else really that competes against this in Australia. You've got F-150 Raptor in the States and the Raptor R as well, but unfortunately we don't get those here, well, not through sort of official channels like this thing. And it's such a good job in terms of the conversion that you don't really notice that this is a product that is kind of hacked up and changed over to suit Australian conditions. It is the ultimate pickup truck, and it's one that really just won't exist soon. So I think this is a collector's item, and if you are thinking about buying one, I would get in quick, because once these sell out, we're going to be going down to 6 cylinders and eventually electric cars and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, now is your time to shine in one of these. It is such a good thing. In terms of the negatives, it can't just all be positives, right? What are the negatives? Yeah, I don't know. There really are none. I just love it. So let me know in the comments section below. Do you own one of these? One of my mates has one. He's lifted it, put bigger tires on it. you know, it's kind of the opposite to getting a sports car, which you lower and then put bigger wheels on. But anyway, let me know if you have bought one of these. How is it going? What's it like on fuel economy? Are you enjoying your purchase? Do you love it just as much as when you bought it? I'm keen for your feedback. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure you like it and you share it with your mates. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon. Actually, the negative, the brakes. They could improve the brakes. There you go. There was a negative there. Till next time. See ya.